So I have a challenge for you before finishing this podcast.
Mhm.
Can you teach me a few words in Hungarian?
I've been thinking about this a lot and I had no idea. So either please tell me what do you want to know in Hungarian, or I can follow the stereotypes. So if the temperature is below 15 degrees, Hungarian people usually start to look for mild wine stalls. Mild wine in Hungarian is forralt bor.
Oh, it's difficult. Forarbor. Sorry.
Forralt bor.
Forret bo. Bor.
Oh, it's right. Yeah.
Okay.
The
I know
other,
one word in Hungarian.
yeah,
I know köszönöm.
köszönöm.
Köszönöm, yeah, sorry.
Mhm.
And I think that's all that I know in Hungarian.
You must know egészségedre means cheers to your
Yeah,
health. Yeah.
egészségedre.
Another funny thing, what maybe, okay, it's not gonna be easy.
Welcome for a new episode of Destination Est, Heile's podcast to highlight trends as well as cultural and societal issues in the regions of Eastern and Central Europe. My name is Thibaut Boudot. I am the founder of Heile, and I invite you to travel with us from Greece to Ukraine via the Balkans and Central Europe. Far from the clichés and stereotypes that many makes of it, we are going to break down this cultural iron curtain that still separates Eastern and Western Europe, as our countries and regions are teeming with positive initiatives. But before starting our journey, let's answer everyone's question. What does Heide mean? It is a word borrowed from Ottoman Turkey, widely used in our countries that means let's go. So buckle up and get on board with us towards Eastern and Central Europe. Hello Eszter, how are you?
Hi, how's it going? Thanks for inviting me.
No problem. So can you present yourself and tell us what you do in your life?
Yeah, my name is Eszter and I'm a Budapest-based artist manager mainly, but I also freelance for music associations as PR and communication, and I also am a founder and project manager of EEnlarge Europe, what is a grassroots venue project now becoming an organization rather. I started to work in the music business or music sector when I got back home from Indonesia. I used to live in London as well. It was in 2012, and with a best friend of mine, we started a music magazine called Now Magazine. Firstly, because we just wanted to get into festivals for free, but actually it turned out in a short time that we have a huge motivation and cultural mission to focus on the underground music scene of Hungary, what was really hidden at that time. And it was a pretty hard work to dig deep and find the emerging bands and artists. And we became quite well known in the underground scene pretty quickly because no one was writing about those kind of bands at the time. And it was an amazing good few years. We went to all of the festivals, we went to concerts pretty much every single day and a week. I got to know really amazing musicians, and I got to be friends with a couple. A couple of them who just moved back from London and wanted to start their band. And I was really into their music. And I was like, oh, yeah, just please let me help a bit. I would like to organize some gigs. So that's how I ended up being an artist manager. It was around 2015. I started my own label / literary publisher project called Now Books and Music. And yeah, the band was Royal Freakout, and there still is. We still work together. And then I realized that I'm more motivated to be an artist manager than a music journalist. So we actually closed the magazine in 2019. And now, I'm only working with bands and music and things like that. Currently, I'm actively managing I Am Young, a really amazing and really creative musician and producer. He's into electronical music. Now he has a new jazzy kind of thing, a new metal album, and also he's composing contemporary classical as well. And I also actively manage Woodstock Barbie. They play, let's say, blues stoner with a bit of soul kind of thing. It's really cool. It's really my kind of music, and all of them are really successful one way or the other. So I'm happy with them. And yeah, in a nutshell, that's that's about me.
That's a lot. I didn't know you've done all this, and you travel a lot too. So that's great for this podcast.
I do.
Um, so actually, I've invited you because I know you from the Jump project, because you created EEnlarge Europe, and you have been part of Jump in 2020, if I'm
Exactly.
right.
Yeah, the
Okay.
lucky year.
So can you tell us more about EEnlarge Europe and what is this project?
Well, EEnlarge Europe is a cooperational project for grassroots music venues, focusing on knowledge sharing and experience sharing. And I started this, or the idea came into my mind when, I was working with bands and organizing gigs and stuff. So I kept listening to all the complaints from the bands. What's wrong with the venues? I was listening to complaints from the venues. What's wrong with the bands or with other venues and things like that. We Hungarians love to complain. That's our national hobby. But still, somehow a cloud of issues became like formulating in my mind. Then I was at a small festival in Vojvodina, Serbia. I saw a band and they were amazing, and I was just asking the organizer that, hey, how comes that they never played in Hungary, but they came like so close to the border. And he's also the manager of a grassroots venue called Grand Cafe in Szeged, that's on the other side of the Serbian-Hungarian border. And he was like, oh, they played at my place like a couple of years ago. And I was like, how come they didn't come to Budapest? And he said, there was no one to book them. And I was like, why didn't you just give me a shout? Like, they are amazing. They should come to the capital if they come so far from Iran, actually. And he was like, oh, yeah, okay, maybe it's not a bad idea. And then I saw the Music Moves Europe School, that's part of Creative Europe, and that was mainly, or not mainly, but the call was to do a project what is cooperation between grassroots venues. And then when I saw the call, I was like, okay, that's the frame of the whole issues and things and ideas what I have in mind. So I was working on the application for a couple of months. And with the idea of EEnlarge Europe, I applied to Jump as well to just to give me a hand with the details, just to make it work in practice. But then COVID came, so EU was really late with the announcement. Actually, almost a year late. So during Jump, I was still working on the practical part of the project. How would I do it whenever I actually can, or what's going to happen? And I was looking for more fundings in case we're not going to get the EU funding. But luckily, I got. So when Jump ended and I received the notification and I was like, okay, we just need to sign the agreement. I just had to push the start button and everything went smooth because it was all well prepared, and that's thanks for Jump. EEnlarge Europe is mainly, as I mentioned, a cooperational project and knowledge sharing project for grassroots venues. Currently, or originally, I had 5 partners from 4 countries: Napoli from Pécs, Hungary, Kvaka 22 from Belgrade, Serbia, Zentropia from Zenta, Serbia as well, Moskva Cafe from Oradea, Romania, and who am I missing? Oh, yeah, Channel Zero from Ljubljana, Slovenia. And the spine of the project was 5 2-day events, all hosted by different venues, so mainly in different cities with different focus topics. The first one was in May last year in Budapest about finance and business topics. The next one was in Ljubljana about communication. The Belgrade edition was about dealing with policymakers. Page was sustainability, and Oradea was audience rejuvenation. We were pretty well good with the budgeting, so we actually managed to have an extra one in Szeged this May. As a closing event, and that was about venue networks, how they operate, how a city can embrace more venues. That was pretty good as well. And also, we had a large-scale survey. What we gathered the data from all the 4 countries. It was about listening trends, concert-going habits, how we use social media in relation with concert-going, like where we look up the concerts, how we follow the venues, what is important for the audience in the venues. We tried to measure the carbon footprint that needs a bit more work in the survey. And we launched the report just 2 weeks before MENT, which means end of May. And it can be downloaded from EEnlargeEurope.com/survey. It's really cool. And it has really needed data. Like Eurostat has slight statistics about cultural spendings, but within cultural spendings in an average household, we don't know how much do we spend on music, literature, theater, exhibitions, whatever. And we try to measure that too. So it's even more detailed than their statistics. But obviously, with the report, we need to keep in mind that between these countries, there are economical and political differences. So it's just an average within our region. But we would like to repeat this survey yearly, so we can have like historical data too, and check out if the trends are changing or not. Obviously, we're going to fine tune the questionnaire as well. And we actually launched EEnlarge Europe with an awareness raising campaign. It was right at the beginning of, not at the beginning, but kind of in the middle of the COVID, when everything was in lockdown. We invited well-known musicians to the closed venues to be photographed on the empty stages, and we asked them to tell us why do they think a grassroots venue is important, either way on a personal level or for their career. And not surprisingly, or they all said that they started their career in a grassroots venue. So yeah, basically we wanted to point on the issues that the grassroots venues are so fragile, but they are the cradle, the base of everything, all sorts of culture, arts. They are the first step towards the major festival stages and arena tours for all musicians. And yeah, that was a really successful campaign. In the future, we would like to carry on with these kind of awareness raising activities. And instead of having small events, we will have a moving yearly event for a bit longer. We would like to open it up to not just for grassroots venue managers, but grassroots music professionals too, and artists as well, emerging artists. And luckily, we received we actually not received yet, but we received a notification just a couple of weeks ago that we're going to get more EU funding so we can carry on with the project and move it from being a project to be an organization. Not a venue association, not a venue network only, but more like a knowledge sharing still. So we would like to have like a really active hub of international grassroots venues. And we would like to introduce an advocacy system as well, a membership system, and I think pretty much that's all what we're gonna do in the in the next year or so.
That's great. So many projects.
Yeah.
Can you just explain to us what you mean by a grassroots venue for the people that are listening to the podcast?
Grassroots venue is depends on depends on the context. Like our members and partners are in the capacity of in between, let's say, 80 and 400. But like a 600 capacity venue still can be counted as grassroots venue, depending on how they operate, if they have other cultural function or not, depending on the country as well. Because if a country is lucky enough to have like really huge venues everywhere, then probably the capacity limit can be a bit above, like in the UK. But in Hungary, it's really common to have more like 50, 100, max 200 capacity venues. So our grassroots is a bit smaller, let's say.
A lot of the venues, I mean, all of the venues from the project are coming from Central Europe or Eastern Europe.
Let's say Eastern Europe.
How did you choose the venues?
Usually when someone is working on an EU project or application, they firstly find the partners and they work out the whole application project together. Well, I did the other way around because I had a really strong vision and idea. So by recommendations and by my knowledge on the Balkan region and in Hungary, I try to find them firstly on the map what would suit my idea of the cooperation, and secondly, I wanted to find those venues who are having like other cultural functions and activities, who are motivated to share their expertise and experiences, who wants to work on an international level, who are really open to emerging artists from other countries too. So real like similar-minded people like myself, and I was really, let's say, lucky with the chosen venues because they are actually those venues what I was looking for.
All right. I wanted to talk also about the funding part. For now, the project is funded by European Union, as you said, with Music Move Europe. I think you also have funds from Hungary.
Well, the intensity of the Music Moves Europe funding is 90%, so there's 10% own contribution. And the National Cultural Fund in Hungary, they have a subsidy to cover the extra 10%. What would be the own contribution? So basically, there's no own contribution because Hungary just, gave it to us.
All right. So what do you have to pay for now for the project? Is it just the meeting and this kind of thing? And what will you have to pay for the project in the future? And maybe your salary also? Or?
There's a small salary for me and for the administrative officer. Also, we are organizing this 3 days event, what will look like kind of a showcase conference, but I would not use this word for many reasons. Firstly, we don't want to compete with the already established showcase conferences, and our will be traveling. The reason why we chose to travel the events year by year is because if you visit a city and a venue is hosting you and the venue is organizing just a small tour to look at the other venues in the city, you actually can have a closer look to the music scene of that city. So it's like a field trip, and that's why there will be always a new city, new venue to host these events yearly. And that takes takes lots of work. So yeah, people need to be paid. There will be some concerts on the evenings at the event. So the artist needs to be paid as well. The survey, both the data gathering, both the progress, the results. That takes loads of work as well. We are preparing a fanzine and a couple of videos for awareness raising as well. Obviously, the video team will need to be paid and stuff. So, yeah, there are all sorts of activities what needs to be covered from the EU funding.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to know more about this part also of the project, because it's not something that people talk a lot about, but it's something really important when you create a project. The funding part, it's always really important.
Sure.
So can you tell us more also about the educational purpose of your project? If there is
my experience was before we launched EEnlarge Europe that there are really amazing grassroots venues everywhere in our region or everywhere in the world probably, and there's too much workload on that really few people who work at those kind of venues. So they actually have to know pretty much everything from budgeting to accounting to organizing to communication, social media, everything. But obviously one person cannot be an expert in everything. So the goal was with these small events, what we had in the last 1.5 years, is to strengthen their skills in all parts of their work. That's why we had the different focus topics of financing, business, communication, and it turned out during the way that actually these people are really professionals and they really know so many things what can be shared between each other, different practices, different experiences, just by getting to know each other and start a chat with each other. So instead of the attitude of the project will teach something to them, it moved really quickly, the project to be a platform for each other to share their knowledge, basically.
Perfect. So what kind of music can we discover while going to these venues?
Oh, everything. Like really everything. You would be surprised that it is everything.
Is there a band that you've discovered in the past few months that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'm traveling to showcase conferences and I'm traveling in general and I love to go to festivals. So yeah, sure. One in the last couple of few months, I would say Freekind was a really, really nice discovery for me. They are from Slovenia / I don't know what other countries. Really nice R&B, but like contemporary, not mainstream, really cool R&B. Also, Sam Handwich was a really good one. I'm not a big fan of the things what they have on streaming platforms, but I've seen them live, and they were really cool. A new discovery is a project called Phasing Shapes, and it's a new discovery for me because I actually managed the artist who started it, I Am Young, who I mentioned, and it was just a quick idea that he would like to play music with a really cool jazz drummer who's actually really famous around Hungary and stuff, and it really quickly became a band, and it's a really nice electro jazzy kind of atmospheric, very dynamic performance, and we just played at that gathering. I'll come back to that because that's one of my other recommendations. But yeah, a couple of weeks before this concert, I didn't even know what I would expect. I only heard a 2 minutes demo from the rehearsal room, and that 1 hour performance was like a miracle, honestly, and they were better than Portico Quartet on that day.
All right. So we mentioned that you were part of Jump. How did it help you with your project?
It's a tricky question because My project was pretty much ready when I ended up in Jump. But also, I do feel that all the workshops we had strengthened my overall knowledge and skills. That's for sure. And I really appreciated, or still appreciate, the really open-minded and supportive bunch of people who are involved in Jump. And firstly, that was a good experience to see this, because yeah, I wasn't sure. Like, okay, I really believed in EEnlarge Europe when I ended up in Jump, and we met in Manchester first time. But seeing their reactions and all those questions and supportive feedbacks uh, gave me really like a self confidence that I'm actually on the right way with this project. Um, and during the year, um, it was really like it was the first year of COVID, and we needed this regular meetings to know that we are there for each other. So it was like an emotional support as well. And still, I can use all the connections via Jump, what is really useful still nowadays. And the way they structured the whole mentorship is just amazing. I really enjoyed the whole year and the get together in Lisbon recently.
Who was your mentor?
My mentor was Hallian Lindvall.
So now we will speak about more travel things and more about the things that you like to do and everything, and how you travel and these kind of things. Are you from Budapest or
Yeah,
not?
I am.
Okay, all right. So, and you are now living in Budapest.
Exactly.
So let's begin this questionnaire with this question. What are your top 3 favorite things to do in Budapest?
Uh, First, yeah, live music here is just so lively, and the cultural scene is really lively. So the top one is just to live here in Budapest and be part of this cultural scene. Um, I really love my regular bar or pub. It's a really tiny one. It suits like max 20 people inside, maybe 30, but that's like literally packed. Called Hivatar, means office. They have these files on the wall, like in an office, but that's actually the menu. The spine of the file says the prices. Yeah, they're really friendly, and I go there really often in the past, let's say, 7 years. I love to cycle in the city, and Liberty Bridge is one of my favorite spots, just to sit down on the bridge and just look at the river and the city. It's really beautiful. I would say that's my top 3 like personal things.
All right. And you live in Buda or in Pest?
I live in Pest, and I really don't like those kind of conversations, like which part is better, Buda or Pest, and someone says, "Oh, Buda." Yeah, I kind of grew up on the Buddha side. Not kind of, but like, yeah, let's say I grew up on the Buddha side. Um, it's nice, hilly, friendly, but also it's a bit poshy. I'm more into the Pest side. That's more lively in every way. And I'm actually living in a district what everyone calls the village within the city.
Okay.
It's part of the 13th district called Újlipótváros, and it has this main road with loads of small cafes, restaurants. It's really unique. It used to be a sort of Jewish district. It actually was a Jewish ghetto for a short while, and you can actually feel the atmosphere that many families live here for many generations, and all the artists used to live here like back in the 1800s and stuff, because at that time it was a really cheap and dodgy area, so all the artists moved here. But still, it attracts so many artists and cultural people, and you can feel it in the air as well. And the buildings are beautiful. It's nice. There are trees and a small park, and the river is like literally on the side of the village. So yeah, I love it.
So, do you have a routine each day in Budapest?
Not in the city. I wake up, I make a coffee, I need to comb my cat's hair because it's everywhere in the flat. And then I start to check my emails and calendar and jump into the work. I like to go out on the evenings, either to just have a lemonade or a beer or fröccs or whatever with my friends. I regularly go to my band's rehearsal rooms just to check on them, to keep in touch in person. But I don't really have like a really daily routine what I strictly keep. And actually, I enjoy not to have the same days all the time. So yeah, no, I don't really have a strict routine.
All right. So, and what are your recommendations, such as places to go at, like museum, venue, festival, etc., in Budapest?
If only in Budapest, well, currently, we still have the Bosch exhibition in the Fine Art Museum, but that will be closed soon. But I was really impressed by that. What a must see would be is the new Dürerkert. That's a music venue, and it had to move out. I probably heard about this. It had to move out from the old building, what used to belong to a university. It was a really nice building. And now they are right by the river with a huge garden. So just you need to take a cauldron with you and cook on the open fire. And there's a stage outside. There's a small stage inside, and the larger stage will be ready by September, as far as I know. I really love that. If someone is really into poetry, there's a spot right next to the parliament. There's a statue of Attila József. He was a really famous poet in Hungary. And it's really nice to sit down right next to the statue, what is actually sitting, and just look at the river and just read and just enjoy the view of the Buda side. That would be another recommendation. Music-wise, luckily we have a new music venue called Turbina with really good sound system. I really, really like that place. Yeah, if I can recommend something else outside of Budapest, I would say a couple of more things.
Yeah, you can also, you can.
Oh, cool. Festival-wise, one of my favorites, like really favorites, is fishing on Orfu. Orfu is a really small town by a lake called Orfu. And it's really cool, mainly Hungarian artists, but the vibe is really friendly, really, really unique. The view is amazing. I've been at that gathering for the first time. It's the same place as Ozora Festival. I guess you heard about Ozora. They use a couple of different stages, but basically the same amazingly massive area. And I was really impressed with that. Festival-wise, Bankito Festival would be another one. It's right next to a tiny lake called Bankito. They're inviting international artists too, and they have a strong theater and NGO kind of programs as well. The music programming is pretty cool, and the area is very beautiful as well. So I would recommend that too. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, actually, I was in Budapest a few weeks ago in February, and I went to the new venue, the House of Music, in this. That's
Yeah,
what you
that's
were talking
beautiful.
about.
House of Music is well, there was a bit of a mess when the government decided they want to move all of the museums to the city park. And the way they started the whole investment was really not nice. I don't want to jump into politics, but yeah, everyone has like like double thoughts about House of Music. It's a beautiful building, like it's gorgeous. It's really in the park, and it has glass walls, so you actually can see the trees and everything from inside the venue. But in the same time, the Hungarian people just can't really forget that how it became to be this whole city park project. The sound system what they have is amazing. I had the luck to perform there with I Am Young, not me myself, but obviously I Am Young, and I had really good experience. The crew who works there are so friendly. Everything went smooth. It was a really really good experience to perform there. So I can recommend it when you. They have a cool small library. They also have a really cool exhibition.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the venue is beautiful. Even the sound is great.
Yeah, the
But
sound is great.
I can understand that there is a lot of problem also in Hungary about how these kind of things are funded and everything. So
Yeah.
let's jump to something else. uh, Also, you are not talking about this this bar that what's the name of this?
The small one, you mean?
No, no, no. You know the bar like that are very famous in Budapest.
Oh, Simpla.
Yeah, like simple the Kert. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
yeah, this kind of bars. I mean, it's really for tourists now. I mean, I was in Budapest like 10 years ago. It was not that crowded, and when I was in February in Budapest, there was like a big queue in front of Zimpla and all these kind of places. I mean, people from Budapest, they are not going there anymore.
no, not really. I used to go there like I don't even dare to say how many years ago. Kind of like when they opened, and it's a unique place. It's interesting. It has a nice interior with all these room dodgy kind of furniture and stuff, and I'll be frank. There's a guy called Csaba Gödér who is actually, let's say, a partner or member of EEnlarge Europe, because he's managing this concert series Simpler Rocks. It's every Saturday. There's live music. It's his curation, what bands can play there, and he's doing an amazing job, and I have full respect for him. And I actually usually or sometimes I go to see bands perform in Simpla, but and it's not just me. Like all the Hungarians just go there right in time when the band starts, and we leave whenever the band ended the performance. And we don't want to spend like 5 more minutes in Simpla because it's overcrowded. All the tourists, not the really nice kind of tourists, but more like um, let's say those one who want to do stag do's here. So yeah, we don't really go there anymore. It's a shame because I like the place, I like the atmosphere, but yeah,
Yeah, it's the Ruin Bar. I
the
mean,
room bar. Yeah, there's
yes,
quite many of the room bars
yeah.
in Hungary. It became a thing like, let's say, 10 years ago when Simpla became like really famous. Everyone was like, oh, we can do something similar. And there's still a couple of nice places. Like I really like Kőleves, that's not so crowded. Maybe smaller bars, I would say, like Fekete Kutya. Um, they are nice places, but sometimes tourists can just overcrowd these ones, and the locals just leave them.
Yeah, I've been to one small ruin bar in Budapest in February, and I saw this band play some music, and also they played the music of Zaz, you know, the French singer.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it was yeah, it was nice that I could sing during the song. I mean, it was nice to do.
Nice.
So now let's talk about local gastronomy. Do you have a typical local dish that you want to recommend?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this question, and what I would recommend was my grandmother's dishes. Actually, she was an amazing cook, and one of my favorites, actually, probably, yeah, that was my favorite of my childhood, called strapačka. But in Slovakia and Czech Republic, they call it halušky. And strapachka there has cabbage. The strapachka what I had in my childhood was without the cabbage, the halushki kind of thing. Her family used to live or were coming from close to the Slovakian border, so their cooking was were really infused with the Slovakian Czech kind of dishes. And also, I would recommend. It's a really weird thing. Not many people in Hungary knows this, but it's really typical. I would translate it to dipped bacon. And my grandfather liked to do this. It's like you have a huge iron holder, but you put it on open fire, wait till it's like really, really warm and hot. You put a really fatty big slice of bacon in it. You put it together and hold it like really tight. So the really hot iron will start to burn the bacon, and the fat will just start to drip from it. And you just put a slice of bread underneath, and then you put some paprika, black pepper, salt, maybe purple onion on it, and just eat it, and you will end up with a really crunchy piece of bacon at the end. And I really like to do it because we used to do it by the lakeside where we had like a cottage. And my grandfather invited all the neighbors, and the family was there, so it was like a big get together, and it is always a nice atmosphere. So it's more like a good memory than a favorite dish, and it's simple, and you can do it in an open fire with anyone. So yeah.
Nice. So you travel a lot with your job. How do you prepare yourself for your trips?
Depends on if I'm traveling to a festival. I just bring my bikinis and shorts and my favorite band t-shirts. If I travel to, let's say, showcase conferences, I'm more like a shirt person, like a business casual kind of. Um, I always have a book with me. I love to read. I was really into the literary scene for a good few years, and I loved it. But still, I love reading, so I always have a book with me. I don't really prepare myself, especially if I'm going for a holiday. I like to get recommendations from locals rather than check the guidebook. And I love to travel the Balkan countries. Recently, I do that a lot, either by car or just on foot, like let's say by plane. But I've been hitchhiking in Albania. That was an amazing experience. But I love to travel everywhere in the world. Like I spent almost a year in Indonesia. That was the biggest adventure in my life. I've been hitchhiking a good few thousand kilometers there through all the islands and stuff. I was lucky enough to spend some time in South Africa. That was another experience. Recently, I visited Cuba and Mexico, and I just love to end up in a country or in a city and just sit down with the locals and try to chat with them, even if I don't know the language. I manage to communicate with people, and somehow I end up to see so many amazing things and buildings. But I'm not interested in guidebooks, so I rather not prepare myself.
That's a way of traveling too. I mean, I try to. I ask this question because I want to know how everyone is traveling, and there are different ways of traveling. So that's good. That's one way to do that. So what can we find in your backpack when you are traveling?
Oh, what is common is a book. That's for sure. Either if I'm traveling to a festival or a conference or just a holiday, I always have a book with me.
So if I say the word holiday, what does it make you think of?
Yeah, it's like a Hungarian, oh, haideo. We have this saying like, oh, it's pretty cool. I like this question actually.
So I have a challenge for you before finishing this podcast. Can you teach me a few words in Hungarian?
I've been thinking about this a lot and I had no idea. So either please tell me what do you want to know in Hungarian, or I can I can follow the stereotypes. So if the temperature is below 15 degrees, Hungarian people usually start to look for mulled wine stalls. Mulled wine in Hungarian is forralt bor.
Oh, it's difficult. Forralt bor.
Forralt bor.
Forralt bor.
Oh, it's right. Yeah.
Okay.
The
I know
other,
one word in Hungarian.
yeah,
I know köszönöm.
köszönöm.
Köszönöm, yes, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's all that I know in Hungarian.
You must know egészségedre. Means cheers to your health. Yeah.
Egészségedre.
Another funny thing, what maybe, okay, it's not gonna be easy, but it's a stereotypical Hungarian thing. Like somehow people keep apologize in the shops when they pay if they have like big notes, like 10,000 forints or 2,000 forints, because usually there is no enough change at the cashier. So when you step there, you start with the sentence, bocsi, nincs kisebb. Sorry, I don't have smaller.
Bocsi, nincs kisebb.
Bocsi, nincs kisebb.
Okay, it's Hungarian is very difficult. Actually, I have a French friend that knows how to speak Hungarian, but the language is very, very difficult. I mean, I don't know how he learned it. And now when he come back in Hungary, he knows how to speak Hungarian, so it's really, really good about that. All right. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you for inviting me.
I have one last question to finish the podcast. Do you have a recommendation for us? It can be like a song, Instagram account, a YouTube channel, a book, everything you want.
I would recommend the YouTube channel. What I discovered it recently. It's called With Willie, like Walking with Willie, and it's a guy from New York who ended up in Budapest. Now he has a Hungarian wife, and he started this video series of his going to different districts, and he tries to speak Hungarian. He's explaining the history of the district, of the buildings, of some Hungarian history in general, and it's super funny the way he's pronouncing the Hungarian words, but he also mixing it with American English. And I'm not sure if it would be super funny for any other nations, but we Hungarians, like myself, I keep laughing at it, and it's cool. And his historical knowledge of Hungary is actually better than mine. So,
all right, I will put it in the description of the podcast.
Sure. I'll send you the link.
Okay, thank you so much, Eszter, for your time.
Thank you.
And see you soon.
See you soon.
Thank you all for listening to us. Thank you also to our guest for this beautiful story. Finally, thank you to the Slovenian band Nowhere for kindly lending us their music, Colors. You can find them on all the good streaming platforms. While waiting for the next episode, do not hesitate to react to this podcast by giving us your tips. You can also follow Heide on social networks, comment, like, and share. See you soon. Bye.